could be alone between city lights. We don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? I'm Joshua Bardwell. It's that time. It's that time. It's time. It's time for streaming Q&A. How'd you guys do over the holiday? For those of you who had a holiday last week, which is probably most of you. No live stream last week. I took the week off for a holiday. Oh, Wild FPV doesn't like my tune. Oh, everybody. Wild FPV doesn't like my tune. I'm so sorry, dude. The consensus is among most viewers that tune is awesome and needs to stay. So it's going to stay Wild. But I respect your musical taste. Still on holiday here, HC Turkey. Yeah. I mean, when what you have to do for work that is go to live stream, you know, it could be worse. What is my audio? Is my audio messed up? Uh-oh. Oh, why is my audio messed up? Check. Doesn't make any sense. Quiet. It's super. Okay. It sounds good to me. Uh-oh. What's happened? Other people are saying the audio is fine. Okay, the audio is fine. I heard some. I think your audio is low. Sorry, guys. Alex! I haven't yelled at Alex in a while, but a lot of people won't get that joke. Okay, guys. Yeah, we're going to start the stream like normal, but there is a topic that we obviously have to get to, and that is the remote ID thing. So we're going to be talking about it. Oh, you're just jerking my chain saying the audio's low. Shoot. Here's what we're doing. I'm Joshua Bardwell. We're going to do a Q&A live stream, where you guys ask questions, and Peter Peterman, I'm sorry, dude. I'm try some other window, Peter Peterman, and see if it's your computer. Here's what we're doing. I don't even know what... I'm so out of sorts today because of this whole remote ID thing. Like, I don't even know where to start, but we got to talk about it, so we're going to talk about it. And then we're going to do some normal Q&A, like this question from Dennis LaMadeline. Help, I can't get my BLHeli 32 to recognize my Diatone F44 in one. Probably, Peter, that Diatone F40 4-in-1 is a BLHeli S ESC, most likely. And that means BLHeli Suite 32 will not recognize it. That's my guess. Doesn't seem to say which it is, but that's my guess. If you try and use BLHeli Suite 32 to read the ESC and it says no configuration received, it means it's a BLHeli S ESC. See, there we go. Here's my screen. Here's what I'm looking at. By the way, I got a new monitor. You guys may notice this is not a 1080 monitor. If you can tell that everything's a little smaller, a little more roomy. I got a 2.2, whatever the next one up from 1080 is, 2.7K, and got some color calibrated goodness. So anyway, but I got you guys up here. These are the plebs. Hello, plebs. Say hello, plebs. Jusha Bardwell is here. Hello, Jusha Bardwell. Joke accounts. It's hilarious. Yeah, 2540. That's what we got. Daniel Fisher. That's right. Plebs, you going to ask questions? I'm going to answer the questions as best I can. Those questions are going to go by so fast and furious, I can't always get to them. So if you want to hit, you should have a little $ right down here. If you want to hit that $ to leave a super chat, I will be donating the super chats from this stream. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. And right over here, yeah, Bashua Jardwell is my personal favorite, but you know, go for it. Right over here on the left, these are my patrons over here on my Discord server. If you want to join my Discord server, you can do that by becoming a patron. Link in the video description. Hello, patrons. How you doing? Mr. Huggy, Sander Pooh, Stan, Pappy, Bearing Down, Jesse T, Chamer, etc. Why would you name your kid Peter Peterman? Asks Chamer. Peter? I don't know, man. But that's, you know, whatever. It could be a username. So we're going to start the live stream talking about remote ID. And if you don't know what it is, get ready to be probably pissed off, because normally I would save this kind of thing and I would just do a normal Q&A live stream. But the remote ID is like, I'm getting so many messages, first of all, from people saying they want me to talk about it. And it's pretty freaking crazy. So here's the problem the FAA is trying to solve. And the problem is that these drones are flying in the national airspace and there's no way to know who the pilot is or whatever. I don't know. So that you got to like register, and you got to put your registration number on your drones. That's how it stands right now in the United States. License to drive, don't manned aircraft have to use transponders? That's a Friends reference for those of you who are old like me. Transponders. I don't know, man. And so what they're doing is they're implementing something called remote ID, which the purpose of remote ID seems to be that at any time when there's a quad in the air, a drone in the air, an SUAS in the air, that the FAA or law enforcement will be able to identify the operator like in real time. So let's dig into this a little bit. But here's what I want to tell you. I actually think that for a lot of us, it doesn't freaking matter. And here's why I think for a lot of this doesn't even freaking matter. If you're in the United States right now, have you registered with the FAA? For many of you, the answer to that question is no. If you are in the EU right now, this is the European stream, right? If you're in the EU right now, are you operating at over 25 milliwatts? My point is that many of us, maybe even most of us, are not currently obeying the regulations that are in place. And unless you do something to really draw attention to yourself, no one cares. Now, the problem is with that attitude. And so remote ID is going to go in. Many of you, I'm not going to say us, because as a higher profile person, I have to be more careful about flaunting the law. Because I don't know what Bachgrinder's deal is. Bachgrinder seems to just say F the FAA and do whatever he wants, and so far no one has fined him. So maybe that's a sign that we all have nothing to worry about. But for many people, they're not going to obey this, and no one is ever going to care. But if anyone ever does care, the fines for these kind of things are tens of thousands, $10,000, $15,000, which will really ruin many of us. So here's the thing. On one hand, remote ID, who cares? You're not obeying the regulations that are currently in place. You're not going to obey this one. No one's ever going to catch you. Don't be a numbnuts and land your Phantom at McCarran Airport like that one guy did. And who gives a crap? Okay, so that's the positive outlook. Yes, it is a reusable straw, Joe Crawford. We use plastic straws at my house, so I can get some BPA instead of killing seed. Yeah. So here's the thing. Let's talk about what is remote ID and why does remote ID absolutely freaking suck for those who want to obey the law, or even if you're willing to flaunt the law. It may affect you eventually. And I'm referring here to, this is the FPV Freedom Coalition's Layman's Guide to the NPRM for Remote ID. Now, the good news is that this is still not a law in the United States. And by the way, I know this is the European stream, and so some of you are like, why are we talking about? I know, but it's just the very next stream after this happened, and it's too big. And frankly, if you don't think something like this is like in the cards for you, you know. The good news is that this is not a law yet. It's been put out for comments and may go into effect at some time in the next few months. But what this does is it defines 3 types of remote ID, okay? And the first one is pretty freaking cool if you are Amazon or UPS, because this has no range limitation. In other words, if you're doing a standard remote ID, you may fly beyond line of sight. This is the first time that as far as I know, it's the first time you've ever been able in the U.S. to fly beyond line of sight without an explicit waiver. But the problem is, and so you're like, oh, that's great. But the problem is that this type of remote ID requires that you transmit remote ID message elements through the internet in real time from takeoff to landing, and you're broadcasting those same using radio frequency transponder. In other words, this isn't you. And it goes even further than that, because here, actually the notes are right here. Subscribing to this, $30 a year. Serial number has to be compliant with ANSI CTA 2063, etc. But here's the key. An SUAS that meets this criteria must come from the manufacturer with this technology and have been approved by the FAA. In other words, you will never be able to just buy a bunch of parts on Banggood and build a SUAS that meets this requirement. Because if you got Betaflight and Betaflight you could just make it lie, right? So, okay. So this is for people like Amazon, etc., who want to do beyond visual line of sight. This is them. Okay, so what's the next one? The next one is referred to as limited remote ID. And this one says that you may not operate more than 400 feet from the controller. It must not broadcast remote ID messages, and it would be, basically the way this would work is you would connect to the internet and transmit the remote ID messaging to Like you would use your cell phone to broadcast your location. You stay within 400 feet of your location and you're good to go. And when I first started hearing about remote ID, I thought this one's going to be okay. Because just like right now, you can get on your phone and go to the Lance app, the Air Map app, and you can just say, I'm flying below 200 feet in this location and you're good to go. Now, nope, sorry. It's not like that. Because, again, it says, let's see, where is it? It says the UAS must be designed to not take off if it can't do this. And again, this is not going to be hand built by you. The final one is UAS without remote identification. And this would be just normal quads and planes. But the problem is these must be flown within visual line of sight. Okay, that's technically how it is now. And they must be flown at approved locations. They're called FAA Recognized Identification Area. And the problem with that is okay, well, I'm going to only fly at AMA fields. Oops, well, we don't like that. And the other thing is that these FAA these approved areas where you can fly without remote ID, according to the current language of the bill, there is a 12-month period from the day the bill takes effect, and after that, no new areas will be approved ever. In other words, even if we took every single AMA field in the United States today and made it an FAA-approved area, if one of those fields ever shuts down and moves, that's just off the rolls forever. So this is a problem. This is a problem because let's boil it down. Either you are an FAA-approved manufacturer and you are making drones that are always going to report their location one way or the other, or you are flying at an FAA-approved location and there will never be any more FAA-approved locations after 12 months from the day this takes effect. That number will only go down and be eliminated. How would that work on private property budget FPV? Well, here's the real, I'm trying to think, if this goes through, what is the best case scenario for hobbyists who want to obey the law? And I think the best case scenario for hobbyists who want to obey the law is that there are recreational manufacturers of FPV drones that manufacture drones that are compliant with this. Someone could make an FPV drone that complies with this, but you can't make it. You can't buy parts off of Banggood, slap them together. Open source firmware, forget it. The FAA is not going to let you fly with an open source firmware that you could download the code and change the code to lie about your location. If this goes through, it's the end of open source. Betaflight, bye. I don't see it. It doesn't necessarily, I don't think it means that FPV is dead, but it means that the drones you fly will now be purchased from companies like DJI, Hubsan, SEMA, who knows? They're going to be purchased from FAA-approved manufacturers, not built by you. So, what's the best case scenario? The best case scenario is that there's a huge uproar about this and it gets changed to be more reasonable. That's the best case scenario. But let's face it. I mean, if you look at the AMA's response, the AMA's response has been, thank goodness we saved our own flying field. See how good a job we did? Except they didn't even do that. They didn't even do that. They're going to lose their fields. All of their fields on day one might get approved, but they're going to go away because no more can be approved after a year. Kaylin Ryan, yeah, under 250 grams, I believe you're exempt from this. Maybe it means under 250 grams is going to be the one to go with. I've also heard some folks say maybe a scenario would be that a manufacturer like DJI puts a reporting unit in like the DJI Air unit, but the flight controller is still. But the problem is, again, it says it must be designed not to be able to violate these. See, they're not leaving it up to you to obey the law. If you're going to comply with these, the drone must not take off unless it's reporting. And anything that you can hack to violate it. So, and Jay Larson 42 in the Discord, that 400-foot limit is not just altitude. That is 400 feet away from you laterally. What are you going to do? There just isn't any... I mean, you can go check out this page on the FPV Freedom Coalition, fpvfc.com. There isn't any scenario where what we're doing today is possible, except at the pre-approved locations, which will slowly disappear because there can never be any more approved again after 12 months after this goes into effect. So, there's the guide to the NPRM for remote UAS pilots, and there's this FAQ. Check out fpvfreedomcoalition.org. It's scary. You can't build your own drone unless it is a predefined kit that comes straight from a manufacturer. If you add or change any of the components, then you can only fly it at the FAA recognized area. It's crazy. Yeah. There you go. We are right now in a request for comments period, and I would strongly advise. So, what are you going to do? Who should you be listening to about this? I would love to tell you that the AMA is the one you should listen to, because the AMA is legitimately the only real RC organization that actually has a voice in the room. The FPV Freedom Coalition, for all that they try to do, they're still very small, and they sometimes I hear that they get to talk to people like off the record, but at the end of the day, they just don't have the size of voice of something like the AMA. But the problem is the AMA seems to be focused on preserving their own flight fields and have no interest in extending themselves to protect FPV. It doesn't seem like they're interested in it. So I'll be donating all the super chats from this stream to the FPV Freedom Coalition. If you are not a member of the FPV Freedom Coalition, I don't think, honestly, I don't think it will matter, because I think this die is pretty much cast, and I think big interests already have made their decisions. But if you would like to try to do something, donating to and joining the FPV Freedom Coalition perhaps will help. I don't know. Anyway, there you go. I would also like to say there was a commenter on Reddit who said the FPV Freedom Coalition is fake. They are part of because the FPV Freedom Coalition, Chad Capper is a board member, and Capper is also like doing stuff with Red Cat, and Red Cat actually makes technology, or wants to make technology, that could help to comply with these regulations. I can only say what I've seen, and everything I've seen from the FPV Freedom Coalition is fighting against things like this. So unless you think that they're secretly in meetings with FAA saying, frankly, I don't think anybody from the FAA is really listening to the FPV Freedom Coalition at all anyway. So even if they were evil and trying to like skew things, I don't think it would matter. I don't think they're going to be able to do much to help either. I'm sorry to be a pessimist about this. I believe in FPV Freedom Coalition more than almost anyone. I just think that this is too big a thing. But, I mean, if you look at what they've got on their website, it's all about fighting this. So I hope that I'm going to support them. I don't know, Peter Powers, if there's a similar group like that for Europe. Yeah. I don't know, man. It seems impossible to enforce, Hans Schneider says. The problem is that you're right. It's impossible to enforce. Just like right now, many people are flying without registration numbers on their drones. But the people who do get caught get completely screwed with tens of thousands of dollars of fines. CFitzy28, you are correct that the under 250 grams doesn't matter for Part 107. You need a Part 107 to operate, I think, commercially at any weight, I'm pretty sure. You don't have to register under 250 grams, but you still need a 107 to do commercial work with something under 250 grams. Crash Test FPV asks, would V2 of the DJI Air unit be able to broadcast such data? Crash Test, I could see that DJI could be our friend in this. I know that some of you don't want to hear that. DJI is one of the few companies who's taken an interest in FPV that is large enough to, like, say, okay, we're going to get certified as a manufacturer. The problem is that if let's say the DJI Air unit is capable of broadcasting the remote ID information, however that might be, over the internet or whatever. The problem is that it's not just enough to broadcast the information. The flight controller must be set up so that it will not take off if you're not compliant. And the ability to ignore the rule is what they want to get rid of. So I realize I've been going on for a while about this and I haven't been reading your questions. So now I'm going to read some more questions and comments. But I wanted to get that out of there. I would love to, I'm trying to get set up to do an interview with Dave Messina of the FPV Freedom Coalition, although frankly, most of what he would say is probably here in this FAQ. So definitely check that out. I hope that everybody in the FPV hobby who has influence is getting ready to write a strongly worded letter. I mean, we can all write letters as individuals, and I doubt, I mean, we're not there in the meetings when representatives from Amazon and etc. are talking to the actual people who make decisions. So we can write all the letters we want, but until rich guys start writing letters and saying this will cost me money, local police trying to enforce laws they don't even know, under pressure from the brass upstairs. Absolutely. Rick Eddy asks, do you think people flying in public areas are doing it to make it bad for others? No, I don't know what you mean by that, Rick. Flying in public areas, I mean, that can be done safely. Yep. Canada is not an option, says Gunnery Sergeant 0317. As of June, you can't fly a drone anywhere without a 30-hour license course. Many Canadians are quitting the hobby. A 30-hour course to get a license. Jeez. Like even under 250 grams. Ouch. We have 60 days to write letters and submit concerns about this. Definitely, I mean, it can't hurt, so you may as well do it. You may as well do it. This specific thing, Gekehansi, is not going to affect Europe, but surely, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe Europe's going to be better. It's hard to imagine that these same vested interests are not going to want similar restrictions in other countries. America killing all our freedoms. I don't know about that. I mean, I think it's the companies who want the registration. Yeah. All right, so read up on this. Reading section 15, it appears to me the FAA believes there will be a point in time when there will be a remote ID option for amateur-built craft. Yes, that's true, Roger Tinder, but read the definition of an amateur-built craft. I don't think that the FAA has any interest in you just cobbling together something and leaving it up to you to comply with the regulations. What's the definition of an amateur-built craft? Let's see here. Amateur built. What's the definition? Here we go. What is an amateur built UAS? The person building it fabricates and assembles more than 50% of the UAS, not required to comply with the design and production requirements of remote ID, but they can only be flown at an FRIA site. The problem is that FRIA sites, they will start out as every AMA field is currently an FRIA site, but after 12 months from when this takes effect, no new FRIA sites can be registered according to the current proposed wording, which means that eventually there will not be any more FRIA sites. And then this whole amateur built thing will be gone. So what it seems like they're doing here is they're trying to sneak this in and phase this out. They're trying to essentially get rid of amateur built crafts by making it impossible for there to be anywhere legal to fly them. Okay. Okay. So we're not going to spend the whole stream talking about this. Only a half hour of the stream. We're going to move on. John a Big Boot wants to know, what are the FPV companies doing to band together and have a voice? Does the FPV Freedom Coalition provide for that? I'm sure the FPV Freedom Coalition would love to speak for anyone in FPV. But I think it's going to be challenging. Yes, Nimble Gimbal, I guarantee that companies like Get FPV, etc., are going to write letters about this. How could they not? All right, let's move on. So, again, to remind you, all the super chats from the stream I will donate to the FPV Freedom Coalition. And I would encourage you to join up. It's not too expensive, and the worst it will do is nothing, and maybe it will make a difference. I would love to say join the AMA, but I feel so I have stuck up for the AMA in the past, and I've said they seem to be trying to protect FPV. They seem to be bringing us under their umbrella, because I think the AMA realized that they couldn't just ignore us forever. But the AMA's response to this really ticked me off, because... Hello, go. It really ticked me off because they said... Yeah, where's the article? Where's the freaking article? Hello. The AMA's position was and always will be no modeler left behind unless you fly FPV. It's basically, this is not the thing I originally read. Basically what they said is that, don't worry, you're still fine. We still protected our own AMA fields. And I was like, F you. I don't care that you protected your AMA fields. What about everyone who doesn't fly at an AMA field, which is lots of people who do it safely? Why aren't you protecting us outside of AMA fields? And it just... Anyway. I lost a little bit of faith that the AMA was going to stick up for us. It turns out, no. Now, I think what actually happened is that the AMA also was probably shocked by this and didn't see it coming, and just trying to put the best face on it they can, because the AMA doesn't want to say, oh, geez, we're screwed. We really dropped the ball. They want to say, see what we did for you. Now keep giving us your membership fees. And so they're trying to put the positive face on it. But at no point does the AMA express any concern or outrage of how this will affect FPV pilots. So, anyway. Okay. Okay. Let's get on to our regular Q&A content. See, we got a ton of questions. We're not going to talk about the NPRM anymore. And any previous questions will be passed on. Are the free RPM filters from Jazz Maverick safe? Asks Copter Flights. So you may be familiar with JESC. No. JESC is the project from, is it Jay Flyper? Who is it? It's the project here to bring RPM filters to BLHeli-S ESCs. And the problem that some people have with it, I mean, everybody agrees that RPM filters are amazing, okay? And so the specific quads that can benefit the most from RPM filters are micros, which often have BLHeli-S ESCs. So you can just buy some these JESC licenses and get it. But there you go. But there's this new release from Jazz Maverick, another developer, who has taken the BLHeli-S open source code and written bidirectional D-Shot support into it. You can download and flash this yourself without paying a dime. And the question is, are they safe? I heard some reports that early versions of the Jazz Maverick firmware were not safe, that at high throttle you would get a lot of corrupted packets. Then I heard other reports later that had mostly been fixed and that they were getting low packet corruption even at high throttle. I think it's fair to say that the JESC firmware has been tested a lot more thoroughly than the Jazz Maverick, although that as time goes on, Jazz Maverick will be tested more and more because it's free. I would say I think if you want to be a little more certain about the capabilities of the firmware, JESC is the way to go. I don't think that there's anything inherently unsafe about the Jazz Maverick firmware, though, and it's free. However, it's worth saying also, some people are buying JESC just because they want to support the developer. Not only did this guy give us bidirectional D-Shot in BLHeli-S, but he was also basically the lead developer for bidirectional D-Shot and RPM filtering in Betaflight. So it's certainly a way you could say thanks by buying JESC. Martin V, JESC is not working for me. 100% error rate on the motors. You need to flash JESC and then separately you need to license it. There are 3 steps. Flash JESC and license it and enable telemetry. Enabling telemetry is a separate step, and if you overlook that step, Martin V, you'll get 100% error when you turn on bidirectional D-Shot. All right. Also, JESC has 48 kilohertz PWM, which so far Jazz Maverick does not. And some people are saying that going to 48K PWM is improving the flight time of like 65 millimeter brushless whoops by 20 or 30%. Oh, T1010-8401 is telling us that Jazz Maverick also has 48K now. That's exciting. 730 people watching. Wow, that's one of the highest ones ever. Let's get some of these super chats out of the way. D. Brown wants to know, is it still necessary to change ESC firmware in order to use F-port? It has never been necessary to change ESC firmware to use F-port. I'm not sure why you think that's the case. I don't think that F-port has nothing to do with the ESC. F-port is between the flight controller and the receiver. So there's some confusion here somewhere. Tank's going to get ya, but I don't know what exactly it might be. No, D. Brown, sorry. Aerial Imagery 321, thank you for 10 bucks. Thanks for your help on Messenger getting my first build flying. My DJI goggles power cycle every 20 seconds, then come back online. Aerial Imagery, you probably have a loose plug. The barrel plug is loose on some of them. You would need to probably take that back to your to the vendor you bought it from as a return or exchange. I like to use some zip tie to zip tie the cable to the buckle because the cord pulling on the plug can really make it loose. But that's probably what's going on there, man. Ron Ronald, thanks for 5 bucks. Recommendation for a field charger. Will the Florion portable power station work well with a HobbyMate Duo? Let's look up the Florion portable power station. Thanks for your $5 super chat, Ron. I think I know what this is. I think I know what we're going to see here. The Florion portable power station. So it is a... Yeah. So this kind of thing will work fine, but the problem is it will not charge many batteries. So it's advertised as 146 watt hours. So let's do a little bit of math here. Let's say we've got a 1500 milliamp hour. That's 1.5 amp hours. times 3.7 volts nominal times 4 cells. So 22.2 watt hours is a typical sort of 4-cell pack. Okay, 22.2 watt hours, 146 divided by 22 is, you could charge 6.6 1500 milliamp hour packs for $125. Oops. That's not very much, is it? So I don't think it's worth spending $150 to be able to charge 6 packs. You would do better to just get a 5-cell, you know, 5,000 milliamp hour LiPo for $40, right? That's going to be more. Let's say you got a 3.7 volts times 5 cells is 18.5 volts times, let's say 5 amp hours. That's 92.5 watt hours for about $40. And then you just run your charger off of that. So that's what I would say. Thank you, Ronald. XZLR8N, thanks for $5. I lost all my guns in a boating accident in 2020. I lost all my transponderless drones in a boating accident in 2021. Yeah. Fatty Sis, thanks for $5 for the people by the people. 1776. Calvin Massey, thanks for $5. Fury F3 OSD, Betaflight 333. Should I update the firmware? My Diatone Tyrant flies fine at the moment. I'm terrified I'll screw it up by updating. So the good news, Calvin, is go into the CLI, type diff all or dump all, whichever one of those you like. Start with diff, but actually, I'm not sure Betaflight 333 actually did diffs. So dump it out, save the CLI dump, and then if you flash to Betaflight whatever and it doesn't work out for you, you can always flash back and restore your configuration. But frankly, if it flies fine and you're happy, maybe it's not worth the trouble. Tank's gonna get you. Thanks for $10. As a reminder, we have 735 viewers, one of the highest of any live stream I've done. We were talking about the new remote ID requirements earlier in the stream. We're not going to go back over that, but we are donating all super chats from this live stream to the FPV Freedom Coalition to hopefully raise some money for them to go yell ineffectively at the FAA and be ignored. I wish that weren't true, but I'm a pessimist about this. Nevertheless, they're doing the best they can, and I want to support them. I feel like that's our best bet. So we're up to $86 in chat revenue. Whatever we get up to, I'll donate it to them. Tank's gonna get you. Thanks for $10. I think I have a PAL NTSC problem. Runcam Johnny, TBS Unify Pro, Fat Shark HDO with Furious True DX. I'm getting video on the Spectrum monitor, but scanning image in the goggles. Well, the goggles should auto detect PAL or NTSC, man. But it does sound, maybe, it depends on what goggles you have. Fat Shark HDO will auto detect. There's no question. I think you're on the wrong channel with the True DX. That's what I think. HDO will definitely auto detect NTSC and PAL and get it right every time. Max Air 420, thanks for $5. Oh, no question. Just answered all my questions with my videos. Todd Speck, thanks for $2. Pretty Fly for a White Guy, thanks for $2. John Larson, thanks for $10. Toby Sexton, $10. My throttle and aux 1 are bound together on a Diatone R349 GT after installing the Crossfire Nano in Betaflight, and I can't arm. Toby Sexton, if you go into your Crossfire Lua script, or if you have the big Crossfire module, go into the module. In the menu, go into the receiver, and in the receiver, there is an output channel map that says for channel 1, we'll output channel 1. For channel 2, we'll output channel 2. Well, if that gets screwed up, then could be told to output channel 5 and channel 3 as the same thing. Toby, that's the first thing I would do. Thank you for your $10 donation. If you need more help with that, message me privately on Facebook, and I'll be glad to go through it with you. Swiss FPV, what are your thoughts on the Foxeer 5G8 Lollipop 3 Stubby Omni for the DJI goggles? Do all 4 antennas need to be left-hand? Yeah, Swiss FPV, I would make all 4 antennas left-hand. The Lollipop Stubby, in my opinion, they're okay. They're reasonably durable, but they are not as they're inconsistent in quality is the challenge. Some of them will be great. Some of them will be poor. I'm not sure if I spent a ton of money on DJI, I would put sort of I would recommend the True RC Stubby instead. Todd Speck, thanks for $2. Bearing Down, thanks for $2. Do4FPV, thanks for $5. And HBFPV, thanks for 20 DKK, Danish kroner, I think. I believe I'm caught up on the super chats now. Cora B is asking about Zing motors for freestyle. Zing motors are very, very good motors and good for freestyle, good for racing, depending on the KV you choose. For freestyle, I would suggest the 2207 or 2208 if you want to go with a little bit higher pitch props, about 2450 kV, 2400 kV. Mr. Cat wants to know, did I do the right thing by getting a Larva X as my first drone? Here's the thing, folks. Whenever people come to me sometimes and they say, well, I bought a such and such. Did I screw up? And I'm like, I don't know. You bought it. It's yours now. Enjoy it. Maybe you'll love it. Maybe you'll hate it. But you already paid for it, so you may as well just fly it and have a good time. Hey there, Birdman in the Discord. Birdman, thank you for being a patron. I cannot get the analog input on the DJI goggles to work. Black screen. Here's the problem. Birdman, in the latest firmware update, there is a bug that affects, I'm told it's not very many people, but maybe it's more than they admit, where you get black screen on the AV input of the DJI goggles. The way to fix it is to go back to the main menu. You know how you can zoom the image in and out? Go back to the main menu and adjust the zoom. Just go up and down, and that will restore it. That's what I'm told. And many people, a couple people I've told that to have said, yes, that fixed it. Once it's fixed for good. And presumably it will be fixed in future firmware updates too. Jesse T. Yeah. Sterling, he wants to know, have I heard about the Mobula 6 camera analog or camera fog issues? I have not, but I do have a Mobula 6 I'm working on a review for now, so that's exciting. Tyler FPV wants to know, what GoPro mount should I be using for a Hero 8? I bought 2 so far, and the 8 does not fit in either of them. No, Tyler, you have to get an 8-specific mount. Trill says, hey, Joshua, on your Patreon, it says if I pledge now, it will repledge on January 1st instead of 1 month later. Is that true? Trill, I'm pretty sure I have my Patreon set up to bill you the first of the month after you sign up. There are 2 ways you can set Patreon up. One of the way charges you immediately, and creators do that if they are giving away some high-value item. They don't want people to be able to pledge, then not get charged till the first of the month, and then just cancel their subscription after they get the stuff. I'm 99% sure that I'm set up to charge on the 1st of the next month. But I don't know how to confirm that, and I don't want to take a ton of time here on the live stream to try to figure that out. So I think if you sign up for Patreon now, you should be charged on January 1st. Anyway. Droney Boy, my Cinewhoop with DJI FPV system won't turn on the receiver tab. Droney Boy, most likely the issue relates to the high-speed S-Bus protocol that's used by DJI. You can turn this on and off in the settings menu. Go to device and settings, and there's high-speed S-Bus versus normal. So try turning that off if it's on and turn it on if it's off and see if that works. What do I think about the EV300D? Jacob Dvorak, I'm excited about the EV300D. I should get one ordered so I can review it. The EV300D is, where's the product page? It's 1280 by 960, so it's the same resolution as the HDO2 and the Orca, but it is an LCOS screen instead of OLED. At a price of $320, and based on the quality of the EV200, I feel like it's probably pretty solid. It's not going to have quite the same image quality, and it won't have the same build quality. Again, I know this just from what people have told me about EV200s. They don't have bad build quality, but it's not at the level of something like a Fat Shark. But for $320, I think it's pretty compelling to be able to get this field of view and this resolution at this price point. Field of view, where's the field of view? And it's got focal length in it too. What's the field of view? No, is it FOV? No, nowhere. Okay, fine. We can't know the FOV. It's a secret. Steve 3PO in the Discord wants to know, why are my ESCs beeping like it doesn't have signal? Let's check that out, Steve. So, Steve, to me, what I hear there is that you have beeper mode enabled. Is it going into failsafe and it's doing that, or is that beeper mode being enabled? Check in your modes tab to see if beeper mode is coming enabled or if it's going into failsafe. If it's going into failsafe, then it's your receiver is what you need to be looking at. I was trying to read the screen and I wasn't watching my straw. Let's see here. Wiccan FPV says the EV300D sucks. Eoshin has went downhill since the EV800D. The EV800D is definitely still a winner. Wiccan FPV, I don't know about... I'm looking forward to testing the EV300D. Boosiv FPV wants to know why I don't do giveaways on my channel. I must have a ton of previously reviewed products. Boosiv, I do my giveaways on my Patreon page. But wait, don't be... You're about to get pissed off. Hang on. I do my giveaways on my Patreon page. This is... Look at this. Do you see that this is an incognito window? Right? So this is not a logged in. Now, where's the posts? Look at this. December giveaway. No, wait, that's not supposed to be locked. Wait a minute. Uh-oh. I don't lock those. Hang on. See all 276 posts. You don't have to become a patron. What are you talking about? Did I accidentally lock the December giveaway? Oops. Yeah, okay. See? So I do the giveaways on my Patreon. They are open to anyone. I do monthly giveaways where I basically give away all the stuff that I have in the last month. Anyone can join, not just patrons. So don't get pissed off. He only does giveaways for patrons. That is not true. And I know I'm only saying that because the last time I talked about this, someone said that. Anyone can join the giveaway. But I do the announcement on Patreon. So you see in November, I gave away a Clearview ground station, the Sedora, the Nazgul, Attitude V5 goggles, and a full speed quad. That was a pretty good giveaway. Anyone can do that. So just keep an eye on my Patreon page. There you go. The last giveaway I did on my YouTube channel, I gave away an HDO2 and a Bite Frost. So, I mean, that was a pretty good giveaway. And a DJI. It was like a $1,200 giveaway. So, no, Patreon's not going to be mad at me, Ivy. In fact, I used to do giveaways both on my YouTube channel and on my Patreon. And the Patreon giveaways were patrons only. In the United States, it is actually illegal to charge for entry to a giveaway. Without, like, obviously, if you're a lottery, you can do it because there's regulations. And Patreon realized they were going to get in trouble because all the patrons were doing patron-only giveaways. And that's charging for entry to a giveaway. And that's illegal. So Patreon sent a bunch of people a message and said, you got to stop doing that. So I'm not trying to, like, be a rat, but if anybody out there is doing patrons-only giveaways, they're technically violating Patreon's terms of service and U.S. law. So I was like, okay, I'll do all my giveaways open to anyone on Patreon. I will comply with the law, but I'm going to announce it to the patrons first. But anyone can do it. Okay. Peter Powers says, Joshua Bardwell, since this is basically the end of the year stream, I guess that's true. I will also be streaming tomorrow at 8 p.m., which will technically still be this year. But since this is basically the end of the year stream, what's the most important thing in FPV that happened this year? Peter Powers, you're going to hate the answer. Well, you might not, but a lot of you guys are going to hate the answer, and you're going to say, shill! JB is a shill! Get it out of your system. What's the most important thing in FPV that happened this year? Could it not? How could it not be the DJI system? Even if you hate DJI, even if you will never buy it, the fact that there is actually a feasible working high definition FPV system is a huge freaking development. You have to acknowledge that. Even if you think it's a bad development because it means DJI is going to ruin the hobby. Okay, but it still has to be the most significant thing that happened this year. Okay. Jacob Ewing. I am new to FPV. I got a Velocidrone and a FreeSky controller. I was thinking of buying the Avant pre-built toothpick drone, but goggles remain a mystery to me. I have $300. What do you recommend? Oh, Jacob, I got a great answer for you, my friend. Jacob, this is fpvknowitall.com, which is my website, and it is the home of the ultimate FPV shopping list, which has a section here on goggles, VTX, and camera. And if we click on the goggles section, we have my recommended goggles. And for $300, I think you should be looking at either the EV200D, the Fat Shark Attitude V5, the Skyo 3.0. What's it cost these days? Skyo 3.0, $400. Okay, that's no good. For $300, I think either of these two would be a fine choice. I gotta look up the EV300. Maybe the EV300, maybe. But I haven't tested those yet. Okay. Let's see here. Popular Mechanics in the Discord wants to know, any issues with the HDO2 and rapid fire on the latest firmware, having screens dim out to almost black when the battery is roughly half depleted? I would definitely want to make sure, Popular Mechanics, that you were not going into low power mode. Have you done... It's the HDO2. Never mind. Sorry. The HDO2 doesn't need a mod. So I haven't had that. Popular Mechanics, try changing from mode 1 to mode 2 and see if that fixes it. I've had dim screens on mode 1 and I've had to turn the brightness up, but I've never had it go almost to black. If you're having an issue and you suspect it's firmware related, go to the Facebook group Immersion RC Hub. That's where Tony Cake hangs out, and he is very responsive to questions about firmware and bugs. Hans Schneider, what might cause ESCs to reboot during flight? Beeping and obviously crashing. Updated the Tiny Hawk to the Jazz Maverick firmware. It kept doing it. What might cause the reboots? I mean, if you hear the full 5 tones, do-do-doot, do-doot. Obviously, if you're running JESC or Jazz Maverick, it's a different music, but you see what I'm getting at. There's 2 parts of the ESC startup. One is the do-do-doot, which means it got power. And if in the middle of flight you hear do-do-doot as you're falling out of the sky, it means the ESC lost power completely. So. Joe Dirt is trying to ask a question about changing power input to an FPV cam, but what, Joe Dirt, are you talking about? You're talking about getting more range, but you're talking about the VTX, not the camera, Joe. Nullify wants to know, or Nullfly. That's a problem with this new screen. Everything is just a little bit smaller. So I got, side story. So I got this because I did a video a little while back where I color graded a flight edit, and I was like, this is a pretty good grade. And you guys in the comments were like, what is wrong with your eyes? And so I thought, well, maybe my monitor is not calibrated correctly. So I got this thing, which is, it's a color calibration tool for computer monitors. And I checked my monitor, and not only was my calibration way off, but my monitor was also like, monitor brightness is measured in a unit called nits. And like a brand new monitor might make like 200, 250 nits. And that's like super bright. And my monitor was making like 80 nits. So it was like 10 years old. And I was like, okay, screw it. So I got this new monitor. But the problem is the monitor is now 1440 resolution and everything is just a little smaller. I can like barely read your comments. It's tough. It's tough. My monitor's so big. It's really tough to deal with. What driver should be listed under Windows for my Tyrannus X9D Plus for simulators? NoFly, when you're in simulator, when you're in joystick mode, it's an HID game controller driver. So it's going to be in the HID section of your device manager, assuming you're using Windows, and it's going to be a game controller. Wilbo wants to know. Oh, you don't need to read it. I'll read it for you. Wilbo says, "Have you tried the FXT 60 FPS analog DVR?" Wilbo is talking about this thing here. And it is $55, so it's about $50 less than the Immersion RC Power Play. Here's the thing about this that I didn't like when they sent it. They sent me one of these and asked me if I would review it, and I never got around to it because it doesn't have a built-in battery. That's the big one for me. I was like, you guys, you got to put a battery in it. What are you talking about? What am I going to have, a freaking Fat Shark battery hanging off of this? No, give me a break. It doesn't even like have pass-through. So one way to make this work, I literally just thought of this, would be to clip it to your goggle strap or something and plug your Fat Shark battery into it and then have it pass through power to the goggles. But it doesn't even do that. So like I'm going to have, no, I was just like, forget it. You got to put a battery in it. The other thing is, compared to the Power Play, it doesn't have a screen. So I was over at Aaron Ciotti's house a couple weeks ago, and he was live streaming, and we just took my Power Play and we aimed his camera at it, and we live streamed him flying around. That's a real bonus of the Immersion RC Power Play. Immersion RC Power Play is $90, so it's actually like $45 more than this. No, less. 55, 65, 75, 85, $35 more than this. I think the Power Play has built-in batteries, has a built-in screen. It is more than worth the extra price. That's just my opinion, though. Oh, you guys, were you guys not seeing the switchback? Okay. Yeah, I know I can scale it up. I know I can scale my monitor up. I just don't want to. I don't want to do that. Mark Lauper, is it possible to hack DJI to prevent them from recording my flights? I don't know what that means, Mark. If you're talking about the FPV system doesn't have a GPS system. It doesn't have a GPS antenna. They're not tracking you. They can't track you. That's a fact. That's not just like people have opened it up and broken it apart. It doesn't have a GPS system in it, so they're not tracking you. Nah, I can do it. I can read the fonts, guys. I can do it. Carve FPV wants to know, how would you go about getting LQ readouts on the Tyrannus when using Crossfire with DJI, since the DJI OSD only sports RSSI? Yeah, Carve, the DJI, it only sports RSSI, but in the Crossfire setup, you can make the aux channel be LQ instead of RSSI. So just like we've always done, set the aux channel to be LQ, and then in beta flight, set RSSI to be the aux channel, and then the RSSI will really be LQ. That's how you would do it, Carve. Bearing Down says, time for some bifocal glasses. Not yet, my friend. Not yet. What's the better beginner quad, asks Aiden Rocky. The iFlight Nazgul or the Rotorite CL1 budget build kit? Aiden, I think that I would prefer that a beginner build their own instead of buying a pre-built. Now, I know that a lot of beginners are going to buy a pre-built, but if I had to push you one way or the other, I'd say build your own, because you need to build your own, right? You will need to learn to build eventually, because even if you buy a ready to fly, you'll crash it, then you have to repair it. So I would push you toward the pre-build kit rather than the Nazgul is a very good ready to fly, but I would push you to the pre-build. Mortar Tack, is it possible to get OSD on the DJI without the DJI controller? Yeah, absolutely. It has nothing to do with the DJI controller. You just enable the option in the menu, the custom OSD option, and it starts working even without the controller. Let's get some super chats out of the way here. Todd Speck, thanks for $2. What do you think of Quad Mover? Quad Mover is amazing. Do you guys know who Quad Mover is? You guys are about to get your mind blown. Quad Mover does a thing I've never been able to do, and that is fly line of sight. But wait, if you guys have never seen, like, which one should I pick? October 2018? Sure. All right, don't copyright strike me, Quad Mover. Hang on. Y'all need to hear this. Ready? Here we go. Line of sight, guys. Like, what is even happening? Okay. Yeah, I would have crashed about 40 minutes ago. Okay. Quad Mover. Orientation? Man, I've seen guys fly like this. Orientation is just all in their brain. They don't even need to, they practically don't even need to see it. I don't know how they do it. Does he fly 3D helis? I don't know about that. I have no idea how they orient. MC's Creations, thanks for 10 Brazilian reais. When I upgraded my Tyrannus' OpenTX, I downloaded the firmware for my receivers. I'm going to do it again. Should I upgrade the firmware on all of my receivers? There's no reason to upgrade your receiver firmware when you update OpenTX. The only reason to update your receiver firmware is if you change the module firmware. And even then, unless it's R9, I don't think they need to match. If you're running FreeSky R9, I think it's very important that the module and the receiver firmware match because people get issues. But for 2.4 gigahertz, I've never seen that be an issue. Nizzle Hizzle, thank you for 17 kroner. The Therapist FPV, thanks for $5. Would you trade for 2 of my analogs for 1 of your DJI quads? I have more. I wouldn't trade for quads. I have more quads than I know what to do with. I give them away on my Patreon. Fong Ho, thank you for $5. More regulations on guns than quads. Just dandy. Well, I'm okay with that. I think there should be more regulations on guns than quads. I think maybe you meant it the other way around. Take's gone getcha. Thanks for $5. The PAL NTSC question from before. Confirmed video in the monitor, channel A7, same image as before. TrueDX auto scans and finds the problem, no problem. I think that means that we fixed your problem, so good. I'm happy. Adam Bostwick, thanks for $5. Love what you're doing for the cause. Thank you, Bardwell. Adam Bostwick is referring to the fact that all of my donations from this, all of my super chats from this stream are going to be donated to the FPV Freedom Coalition, who is the best hope we've got for fighting the new remote ID regulations, which I talked about earlier in the stream and which are terrible. FPV Freedom Coalition is the cause that we're talking about. Ron Ronald, thanks for $5. I'm a newbie who has learned a lot from your videos. Thank you, Ron. HBFPV, thanks for 50 kroner. Please explain how the 2 RSSI bars work in rapid fire. I only see the bottom one move. Well, that probably means you're in low power mode. If you only see 1 RSSI bar, it means that the rapid fire module is not getting enough voltage and it has shut down one of the receivers. So you are not getting diversity. You're not getting rapid fire magic. You need to, I assume you're using an older Fat Shark goggle where you have to do the inductor mod, or you have to use the auxiliary power cable. That's what's going on there, HBFPV. You should see HBFPV on your rapid fire screen. It says low power, and that will confirm you need to mod your goggles. Sharp Pizza FPV, thanks for $5. I have a Beta FPV Meteor 65. I want to update to Betaflight 4.1. The board defaults to Crazy Bee 4FR. No, there is no default, Sharp Pizza. You can't assume that when you plug in Betaflight that it's going to know what firmware you've got. You need to connect to the flight controller, and you can look in the upper right corner of the screen, and it'll show your target there. Or go to the CLI and type version, and it'll show you that. That's how you find for sure what the correct target is. Seth Patton, thanks for $10 in the super chat. If a drone falls in the forest, at least it makes a noise, even if it's ignored. And HBFPV, thanks for 20 kroner. Do4FPV, thanks for $5. Thanks for all you do for us. Okay, we are caught up now. Did I ever give away my Nirvana TX ENF? I have not, Ian. I kind of want... I probably am going to give away my Nirvana to my patrons. Sorry. I'm going to give away my Nirvana over on my Patreon page, but the giveaway will be open to everyone, not just patrons. But I keep thinking I want to do a video about how to get the latest, best firmware on it before I give it away. So. AKFPV says, do I have to do a firmware update on my X9D if I want to change the logo, the boot logo? AK, I think that the boot logo is read off the SD card. And I think... Well, that may not be true for the X9D, though. The X9D, you might have to flash it. It might be kept in EEPROM. I know for the T16, you change it on the SD card. FPV Juice wants to know, do you think there will be an Orca HD system, or do you think there is coming a combination of Caddx DJI and Orca? I don't know, FPV Juice. I do know that Orca has... When I asked Orca... So Orca had not even really shipped yet, and DJI came out, and I was like, geez, Orca, sucks to be you, doesn't it? And I more or less said that to my contact at Orca. And he said, well, wink, wink, Orca plans to be part of the digital future of FPV, wink, wink. I was like, I wonder what that means. I don't know what that means. But Orca doesn't, if analog, I can tell you, if analog FPV dies, Orca doesn't plan to die with it. So does that mean, and then Orca posts this Instagram post or Facebook post where the digital module side of their goggle would be, it's obviously been photoshopped to hide something. And the new Caddx Vista DJI module is in the picture. And people are suggesting that maybe Orca has like a DJI receiver module. I don't know if any of that's true, but it's all very interesting. Tom Peterson asks, will a beginner feel the difference between a $10 motor and a $20 or $25 T motor? Tom, the beginner will feel the difference when they crash and have to buy new motors. I think a $10 or $15 motor is perfect for beginners because I think like the big difference with a $10 motor compared to a $25 motor is a $10 motor is going to have better quality control at the factory. Like if you were to take 100 $10 motors and take the best 4, they would be just as good out of the box as a $25 motor. But the $25 motors are like all going to be that good. And the $10 motors, like a lot of them are going to have a bad bearing or be out of balance. Okay. So you can get good $10 motors. The other thing is that more expensive motors usually are built better and have stronger bearings. So they stay smooth and balanced through more crashes. But as a beginner, you get a little jello in your video. Hey, you're not diving the Dugga dive at Chernobyl or something, right? So who cares? So I think beginners should start with $10 or $15 motors so that when you crash and destroy your motor, it's cheaper for you to replace. That's my recommendation. Simon Saucy wants to know. Thank you for being a patron, Simon. What does changing the idle up speed in Betaflight change for a whoop? So I think you mean the digital idle percent, Simon, in the configuration tab. The digital idle percent is the slowest that the motor will go. If that's too low, the motor will stutter and the quad will drop an arm or, in worst case, fall out of the sky. If it's too high, the quad will be reluctant to descend when you lower the throttle because the motors are spinning too fast. If your idle speed is 1.1%, I would be really worried that you would be getting death rolls if you if you do like sharp flips and rolls. Changing it to a higher number will make the quad more stable. Some people actually feel that a higher idle speed gets rid of some oscillations in sharp turns. Vanover, I think, has said that. I'm not sure if I agree with that or not. Nathan Knutson says, I've been flying the Nazgul 5 for some time now, but I feel like the VTX is not giving the range it has. Any ideas? Nathan, make sure that you're on the max output power. That's the first thing I would do. Make sure your antenna's not damaged. I don't know. Do FPV wants to know, what's the best way to charge 18650 cells with an RC charger? I suppose the best way to do it is to get... I don't know, man. I charge mine with a dedicated 18650 charger because the convenience of just dropping them in the charger that's what I love about 18650s. So I use something like this. What is it, like 50? It's $13. I just use something like this. Just spend $13, drop your cells in it, it charges them, you're done. Okay? Now, if you wanted to charge with a standard LiPo charger, you could get like an 18650 tray. Is there one with a balance plug? I don't know, man. They were really stretching here. So, like, Jumper makes one with a balance plug. I don't know what the best way would be. I wouldn't do it that way. I would just do it with a built-in charger. Yeah. David Tagachian wants to know, should I upgrade goggles from Dominator V1 to HDO or DJI, or upgrade my RC from FreeSky to Crossfire first? David, I feel like the goggles are clearly going to give you more bang for your buck than Crossfire. FreeSky has okay range. Crossfire has amazing range. But the change from a Dominator V1 to either an HDO2 or DJI is going to just blow your freaking mind. So I would definitely go with the goggles first. No question. Let's see here. Ian F. wants to know if anybody makes any pre-made lithium-ion packs for long range. What Ian is referring to there is, so we use LiPo, lithium polymer cells. Lithium-ion cells have higher energy density and can be discharged to 2.5 volts without taking damage. The problem with lithium-ion is that they can't discharge at high rates. So for a butt-kicking racing quad, you don't want lithium-ion. They would just fall out of the sky. But for like a slow cruiser or a long-distance plane, that's a perfect application. I think Zoe has a lithium-ion pack that she uses on one of her long endurance quads. I think it's for sale, but I don't know what it is. Can we look on her channel? And I think I've seen her plugging it like on... I think I've seen her plugging it various places. Let's see if it's mentioned here on her channel at all. All right, we don't need that. Did she mention it? No. Well, I don't know where she mentioned it. Maybe reach out to her about that. There are commercial, there are a couple ones I've seen, but it's not, the names aren't coming to my mind. So maybe the chat will help. The Titan, that's the one, Jose. Thank you, Jose. That's the one. The Titan 18650 pack. Now, do not... really? These are airsoft batteries. Where's the drone batteries? Yeah, here we go. So here is a 6S Titan pack. Here's a 4S Titan pack. These are the ones you want. They will definitely get the job done. Again, do not try to use these for more than about like 20 or 30 amps discharge. But they'll give you more milliamp hours per gram than a LiPo. Oh, here's Zoe's. Thank you. Oh, that's great. So here is Zoe's. Thank you to Mr. Huggy in the Discord for posting this. Here is Zoe's pack, which is the Outcast FPV. We'll go ahead and paste that. Now, this is labeled as a high amperage pack. It still can't be the same discharge as a LiPo. Even on the race course, I don't know about that. I'm skeptical. I'm so skeptical. Like, even the high discharge lithium ions are like 30 amps or something. Maybe 60 amps for a short burst. Okay. Will Bow, thank you for $5 in the super chat. As a reminder, all the super chats from this stream are being donated to the FPV Freedom Coalition to try to help fight the new remote ID requirements that are in the pipeline. There's still time to comment on the remote ID and let the FAA know that you don't think this is good for FPV. I know, here, we'll just remind you that the FPV Freedom Coalition has put together a guide to the they're calling it the NPRM, the remote ID requirement, and a FAQ about it. It's over at fpvfc.org, and you can write a letter to the FAA. Where's the comment? Let's see, remote ID comment. Let's find out where. SUAS News. Yeah, here we go. Where can you comment on this? You need to comment on this, and don't just like send them an email to yousuck@faa.org. You got to go read the notice of proposed rulemaking, and then where do you comment on it? Where do you comment? Come on. Where do you comment on it? Really? Comment period. Oh, the comment period hasn't opened yet. So when the comment period opens, go ahead and comment on it from the FAA website. It'll probably be here, right here on the Federal Register. But donating to the FPV Freedom Coalition, I can tell you that the FPV Freedom Coalition has sent people to talk to members of the FAA and people who are making these decisions. I don't feel like we necessarily have the same weight as an organization like the AMA, which is well-established ties to Congress and to the FAA. Certainly not the same weight as a billionaire like Amazon or whatever, but I feel like they're the best hope that we have. So I'm donating. We're currently up to $203 in chat revenue. That means you guys, because Google takes like a third of that or something, you guys have donated even more, and all of that is going to go to the FPV Freedom Coalition. Okay. Will Bow, getting back to your super chat there. Thank you for $5. What should I buy spares for on a new build? Definitely props. Yeah. Will, I will tell you, whenever I do a new build, I buy 5 motors and 5 ESCs. Obviously, if you're using a 4-in-1 ESC, that's different. But buy 5 motors so you have a spare motor or a spare bell if you want it. Definitely do that. The best thing you can do if you want to have spares is settle on gear that you like and then build more than one quad exactly the same. Now, for a lot of people, that's not going to be feasible because a lot of people, you may own 2 or 3 quads, and that's just how many you can afford to build. And if you have the budget for another quad, you're not going to build another of the exact same one you already built. You're going to go build a 7-inch or something. But having multiples of the same quad means you've always got a spare if you need it. Ryan C., thanks for $2. Gustavo Scanzerla, thank you for 20. I believe those are Brazilian reais. Yeah. Best regards from Brasilia, Brazil. Brasilia, the capital of Brazil, isn't it? Ryan C., thanks for $2. Super Deluxe, thanks for $20. All hail Bert Grindle. I don't know who Bert Grindle is, but I'm guessing it's Bot Grinder. All hail Bot Grindle. Smozendi's man. Thank you for $5. Thoughts on the new FAA proposal? Talked about that very first thing in the stream, my friend. You're going to have to go back. Thor Wright, thanks for $2. Any word on the wildfire? What's the wildfire? Is that the new Cadex? What's the new wildfire? No. Run cam. I guess no word on it because, oh, it's the Fox ear. Because I can't even remember which vendor makes it. Nope, no word. Oh boy, a new module's coming. The Foxeer Wildfire is coming. And it's even better than the Immersion RC Rapid Fire, according to like one dude who got handed a engineering sample and then did a test. Rapid Fire sets a mighty high bar. No offense, Foxeer, but you got your work cut out for you. I am tired of commenting and reviewing goggle modules based on engineering samples. I would like to see a production sample, and then I will test it. Let's see here. Tim C, thanks for $5. I'm using the DRL sim. The first time I connected my QX7, it installed the correct driver, but now it will randomly update to better USB HS. I don't know how to stop it from updating, Tim, but you can always roll back your driver and go back to the old one. I don't know why it keeps updating, though. Sorry, man. I'm not a Windows expert. I'm an FPV expert. Ryan C, thanks for $5. Huge shout out to you and the drone worship. Fight the good fight. Will do. The Therapist FPV, thanks for $2. Add me on Instagram. Nope. That's not how to do it, my friend, but thank you for $2. I cannot possibly follow every single person who wants me to follow them. Sorry. No offense. Nothing personal. Dan's 24. I did get the grips for the T16, Dan's. Thank you for sending those to me. Dan Z sent me some custom cut grips for my T16. It's Blunty. Should I be flying my whoop in acro indoors? It seems others aren't doing that. It's Blunty. I find for indoor racing, angle mode makes the most sense. And the reason I say that is, and this is not just me, but many pro racers race whoops in angle mode. The reason for me is that when you're indoors, you're much more likely to crash into something. And when you crash into something in angle mode, it immediately autocorrects faster than you could autocorrect because you're still holding the stick in the same position. So when you hit the wall, it just goes bloop and goes right back to the level, that the angle that you were at. In acro mode outdoors, when you bonk something, you usually have a surprisingly long time before you hit the ground to try to correct. And you know that's true if you've ever crashed and disarmed and then just watched in pain for like 3 seconds as your quad goes woo, 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 and you're like, I shouldn't have disarmed, man. I could have flown out of this. But indoors, your crashing is a lot faster, and I fly in angle mode. If you want to do acro indoors, obviously, I mean freestyle indoors, obviously you're going to be in acro mode. But for racing and fun flying, I like angle mode, and a lot of other people do too. The Boots wants to know, if I was going to spend $100-ish on an indoor whoop, what would you go for? One of the Tiny Hawks, the Mobula 6, or something else? Should I just use my Mobula 7 on 1S and save my money? The Boots, the Mobula 7 is a great quad. On 1S, it is definitely heavy. On 2S, it's so rip-snortingly powerful that it's a little hard to fly it indoors, and it's still heavy. A heavy, powerful quad is not the same as a lighter quad with the same thrust-to-weight ratio. The Tiny Hawks are good, but I don't think they're the best at anything. They're like really solid, but they're not quite, because of their weight, they're not quite as fast and maneuverable as other things. So if you said, like, what's the first whoop I should buy, I would like say, sure, a Tiny Hawk 2 would be a great choice. But if you already have a little bit of experience as a pilot and you're looking for something to push the performance envelope a little, I think something like the Mobula 6 is really fun. You're not going to get the flight time on like a 19,000 kV or 20,000 kV, or the Meteor 65 is 22,000 kV, which is ridiculous. You're not going to get the flight time. And in fact, they can be difficult to fly indoors without a throttle limit, but they're super light and they're really versatile. I think I personally... You asked about an indoor whoop, though. The Mobula 6 is not really a great indoor whoop without a throttle limit. So probably like the Tiny Hawk 2 would be a good choice. But I personally would take the Mobula 6 or the Meteor 65, except the Meteor 65 is more expensive. The Newbie drone brushless Acrobee is also in there, but it's like $150. So Ciati FPV's in the chat. Ciati is surely going to be streaming after this. I'm going to be going off in about a half hour, and Ciati will be starting. Ciati says nobody sends him anything. He has to buy everything, and he's broke as fuck. Ciati, how many subs are you up to? You should be getting free stuff by now. Ciati FPV, 2.3 thousand subscribers. Ciati, I started getting subscribers around 1,000 or 2,000 subs. So if you're not getting free stuff by now, you should be getting free stuff. That's just my humble opinion, my friend. My Jam wants to know what makes the accelerometer drift from level during flight. What you're describing, My Jam, is a situation where you're in angle mode, you're in auto level mode, you take off and everything's fine, and then literally while you're flying, it just starts to drift, and you have to put right stick in to counter it, or left stick, and it just gets worse and worse as you fly. This is caused by a problem. I'm not going to call it a bug in Betaflight, but some people have. And it only happens on certain hardware, and there isn't really a reliable fix that I know of. So I don't know what to tell you. If you crash and whack the quad, that can throw off the auto level, but then you just recalibrate and it's fine. If it's literally drifting in flight, new flight controller. That's the fix. I'm sorry to say. Yeah, Ciati, have you tested that? Have you tested that? Because I've heard of that, but I'm not convinced that it works reliably. Ciati's going to post the recommended... Wait, is that to fix the accelerometer drift? Is what you're talking about? Or are we having a whole nother conversation? Blizzard FPV says, do you think Chad Capper will fight the FAA for FPV? What Blizzard is getting at is that Chad Capper is... There was a while back, there was an announcement that Red Cat, which is that company Jeff Thompson owns, Red Cat was like proposed to buy Rotor Riot. And when you have a publicly traded company and you're thinking about doing something like that, you're required to make an announcement. And they did. And then now we haven't heard anything about it since then. And who knows what the status is. I don't know. But some people are suspicious that the FPV Freedom Coalition is going to work in the best interests of FPV hobbyists. Because Red Cat, no one really knows what Red Cat does. It's all just a website with a lot of concepts and no actual product. And then they're raising a bunch of venture money for God knows what. But the things that Red Cat talks about doing on their website, they could benefit in an increase. What they talk about doing is regulatory compliance. And so in an increased regulatory atmosphere, Red Cat could benefit. And so people are suspicious that the FPV Freedom Coalition is really fighting regulation. I can't say, I'm not in the room, but Chad Capper is a board member and founding member of the FPV Freedom Coalition. But whenever I hear about, I don't know how active he is in actually steering the coalition. Whenever I talk to people from the FPV Freedom Coalition, like I talk to Dave Messina a lot, they're always, I never hear, well, Chad told me this, or I never hear him mention Chad. They're talking about they're doing things to fight for FPV. And if you go to their website, you can see the things they have to say. So will Chad Capper fight for FPV? I wouldn't count on Chad to fight for FPV. Chad is... I think that Chad's going to see this, and then I hope his feelings don't get hurt, because I haven't actually said this to him in person. So I feel like Chad is first and foremost a media creator, a documentarian, a YouTube creator, a filmmaker, a marketer. Chad is fantastic at marketing products, and an FPV pilot I think he cares about the future of FPV, but I just don't think he has the same gut attachment to FPV that those of us who fly FPV every day and every week have. So I wouldn't trust Chad to fight for FPV, not because I feel like he has some nefarious purpose, but because I just don't think he's the most effective advocate for FPV. And that's why I'm glad that people like the people from the FPV Freedom Coalition are actually in the room trying to fight for FPV. They're the right ones to do it. That's what I would say about that. GW FPV says, as a sophomore FPV pilot, when should I start posting? I feel like my flights are nowhere near what I see. GW, here's the thing, man. If you wait until you are a world-class pilot to start posting, you will never post, because despite what your mom tells you, you will probably never be a world-class pilot. Now, GW, I'm not picking on you specifically. What I'm saying is, statistically, most of us are not going to be the best pilot in the world. That's how bell curves work, right? So, make the videos you love to make, post them, and don't worry about whether you're as good as the other people you see. And then maybe no one will watch them, but who cares? That cannot be your motivation for posting. If you post on YouTube because you need people to watch your content, it's a loser's game. No one will ever watch your content, because at first, no one's going to watch your content because nobody knows who you are. It's only after you start making content that people will start to notice it, and maybe they'll fall in love with it, and maybe they'll start watching it 6 months or a year. Ciati, how long have you been grinding? Ciati's been grinding, and he got the Bardwell bump. He's up to about 2,000 subs. His last live stream that I was in with him had like, I don't remember. I'm not going to say a number and get it wrong, but it wasn't a ton of viewers. Ciati's having a great time. He's got some patrons, and, you know, he's just doing his thing. GW, whatever it is you love to make that content, post it, and make it because you love it. That's what I would say. There will always be somebody who likes watching your flights. You know, you're not as good as like a Mr. Steele or a Ladrib maybe, but you're better than, you're going to be the best pilot that someone has ever seen. Anyway. Technophobia. I talked about remote ID earlier. Yeah, go back. I talked about remote ID earlier in the stream, Technophobia. You can watch it at the beginning of the stream. Nullify says, post your content so you can see your own progression and enjoy it. That's true, Nullify. If you go back and look at some of my earliest videos, it is embarrassing. Is Technophobe spamming? Moderators can put him in timeout. Yeah, you gotta just love it. In fact, if you're a professional YouTuber and you don't love it, if you're just making videos for the views, that's actually even still, that's bad. You gotta love it in addition to wanting to get views. And if you love it, then it's worth posting because you love it. And then you can try to figure out how to get views. And the other thing is that if you want to get views, you got to get in the habit of making content. If you only ever post good content, you'll make one post a year or one post. I mean, if you're somebody like Stickman, and if you don't know who Stickman is, go look up Stickman FPV. He's amazing. Stickman posts one video a year or one video every 6 months, and they're amazing. But he's a professional video editor, special effects guy in his day job. So he's got the practice. If all you're going to make is freestyle content, you got to make bad content before you can make good content. So get started. That's what I would say. It's Blunty is going back to the question about angle mode for horizon for indoor whoops. It's Blunty. I never fly horizon mode. I hate horizon mode. I would always fly either acro or angle. What I hate about horizon is that as you deflect the stick, suddenly, oh, now you're in angle, you're in acro mode, and it's like rolling. I hate that. So I always use either angle or acro, but never horizon. Personally, that's my take. Steezy FPV in the Discord. Thank you for being a patron, Steezy. Wants to know about the KO Technologies Demon Seed motors. I don't know about them, but let's look them up. Demon Seed motors. What the, are these some micro motors, huh? Oh, wow, look at that. Oh, I did talk about these on an earlier stream. I said I think this sharp edge here is bound to get dinged up, and I mean, they're small motors. No, they're 2208. Never mind, my bad. My sense of scale was off. I thought these were like 11 something motors. These are 22. I think that this ring here, it looks badass, but that sharp edge is going to get banged up and out of balance. I would not buy these. I would not buy these with this lip on here. Personally, maybe I'm wrong. Emmanuel Valkov, the Attitude V5 does not need power mod for rapid fire. Alexis Brown, thanks for $5 in the super chat. As a reminder, everybody, the super chats from this stream are all going to be donated to the FPV Freedom Coalition, who I think is the best bet we've got for fighting the new remote ID requirement. I pessimistically feel like we're doomed to lose this fight. I'm sorry, that's how I really feel. Nevertheless, I'm going to go down fighting, and one way I'm going to do that is by donating. We're currently up to $218. Any super chats you send are going to go to the FPV Freedom Coalition, and I highly encourage you to check out their website, fpvfc.org.com or .org, to learn more about the remote ID requirement, and they are preparing a response, and you can copy-paste that response when the comment period opens to let these guys know that we are not, somewhere in the FPV document, they were like, we expect that home-built quads will be an extremely small minority. And it's like, well, let's show them that that's not true. What's the Mio squirt of the day? Budget FPV wants to know. This is iced tea and lemonade, although it's pretty much water at this point because all my ice is melted. It's a 501c3. Anyway, Alexis, let's get to your question. Alexis Brown, thanks for $5. I bought a Crazy Bee F4. I soldered up the XT30, checked for continuity, then plugged in my LiPo and magic smoke. Well, Alexis, I mean, that's going to be a tough one. Did you solder it backwards? Plus to minus and minus to plus? Maybe you just got a defective one. Solder blob could be another possibility. I'm afraid, Alexis, this is going to be a tough one to solve without, knowing more information. Bandalorian FPV, not Bangalorean, because Disney owns that. Bandalorian FPV, thanks for $5. Change name and just want to hear it. Plus donate to the cause. Formerly Jersey Boy. Bandalorian, now you've heard your name, my friend. Hillbilly FPV, thanks for $5. Will Bow, thanks for $5. No, we already got you, Will. I'm not going to get you twice. Has anyone found a kickstand that fits the T16? Asks Lawman in the Discord. No, Lawman. Ever since I moved from the Tyrannus to the T16, I haven't put a kickstand on my radio. I have seen one person who put a kickstand on, and it looked like they had removed that little flat bar. The one thing I did do though was flip around my handle. And once you've got the back off, it's two 2.5 millimeter driver screws, and you flip the handle over and it lays a little flatter in your bag, and I like that. Jay Larson is trying to win. The guys on my Discord have a game where every time I mention a certain website of mine, they try to post a screenshot as fast as they can. And Jay Larson is trying to get me to say the name of the website, but I'm not going to do it. It's not that easy. Oh, this is cool. Popular Mechanics is asking about this. This is the new Newbie drone motor. Check this out. Now here's what's cool. Oh, this has a very similar ring to that. This isn't quite as sharp a ring, but it is similar to the ring I said I didn't like on the Demon Seed motor. Ouch. Here's what's cool. Hang on. Let me find this. I don't want to accidentally share private conversations, but I have in my chat, I have a cool picture. So here is the magnet on this Newbie drone motor. What do you think of that? It's a solid piece of metal with the magnetic poles. Hang on. Where's the... No, hang on. I'm going the wrong way. Okay, here we go. This is magnetic viewing paper. And you can literally view the magnetic flux lines. Check this out. So this is what magnetically the motor is doing. That's what that ring looks like magnetically. So it's got the same poles as usual, but instead of having a bunch of individual magnets that you have to balance individually, it's just got one smooth ring. How about that? Now I have no... Oh, hang on. Here we go. Let's get this picture up. Oh, yeah. Oh, so good. This is a picture from Scarecrow FPV. He's an amazing photographer. He actually got hired by Newbie Drone because his product shots were so freaking good. And he's doing product shots for them. This is... Now, here's the real question. Is this better in flight? I have a set of these motors, and I'm going to be testing them. I mean, it's super freaking cool, but does it actually make a difference? Well, we'll see. But, oh, he's in the chat. Scarecrow, there he is. Scarecrow also, in case you didn't know, hang on, F11. Scarecrow also did my backgrounds. He's a hell of a photographer. Anyway, yeah. So I'm going to be putting these motors on a build soon and flying them. And I don't know if, I mean, knowing me, I'll probably go, yeah, they're all right. But it is pretty freaking cool that we can make magnets like this. Ivor Lamont wants to know what's the best cell voltage to set your low voltage alarm to. I like to use 3.5 volts on my big quads as my warning voltage. I find that under heavy load, I often drop down to 3.5 or 3.6. Below 3.5, I'm really pushing the battery too far. Technophobia points out the magnet will actually be heavier. Ooh. Yeah, Ciati says apparently Gomble motors also use ring magnets, so they should be smooth, but I fear they won't make much power. Yeah. So in talking with Newbie Drone about these motors, they basically say that they're designed to be smooth. They're not designed to be like rip-snorting power motors. But for freestyle, smoothness over power may be desirable. What about the Cricket Hype Train motors? Wants 4G, 45G and FPV wants to know. I think the Cricket Hype Train motors are the best motor plated in actual gold that you can possibly buy. It is pretty cool what they came up with. The rotor, the bell of the Cricket motor is a 0.5 millimeter taller than the stator, and that lets it capture just a little bit more of the flux. Cricket was a smart guy when he helped sort of spec that motor. He went to Ryan Harrell, the owner of MiniQuadTestbench.com, and one of the smartest guys about motors just in the whole industry, and said, Ryan, what kind of things should I do? And Ryan gave him some tips, and that was one of them. So Sean K says smooth equals less vibration. Well, that's the hope, Sean. The hope, Sean, would be that you would get less jello and be able to run less filtering without getting hot motors or vibrations. Curious about durability, says J. Larson 42. Indeed. One thing we certainly won't have to worry about, J. Larson, is slip magnets. Haha, because the whole thing is a magnet. How could it slip? Chamber says it's going to crack in a crash. Chamber, I dare say any crash that would crack that would also have just destroyed a normal bell. In fact, it makes me wonder if this is going to be stronger than a normal bell, because I wonder if the magnet is actually sort of reinforcing the whole bell. You see what I'm getting at? Making essentially a thicker bell, a solid piece bell. Very interesting. Don't know. Yeah, Sharp Pizza. More for Cinewhoops. Well, the size isn't right for Cinewhoops, but yeah. Lead Sled 01, thank you for $5 in the super chat. My new Tyro 79 spins fine in Betaflight. When I take off, it growls and jerks over and over to the right on the yaw axis. Lead Sled, you got to check the basics. Check your board alignment. When you move the quad with your hand, does the 3D model in the setup tab move correctly? You got to check your motor direction and your motor numbering. Check that using the Motors tab in Betaflight and look at the diagram in the upper left. Don't go based on your memory because maybe the configuration is wrong on the quad and your memory isn't right. So check the diagram in the upper left of the Motors tab and spin the motors one by one and verify that the correct motor position and the correct motor direction. Those are the basic things you need to check. G-Dub, thanks for $4, says thanks for the inspiration. Indeed. Ciati, thanks for 420. Sub 250 grams for life. Eat that, FAA. Ciati's right. All this remote ID stuff, if you're under 250 grams, doesn't matter. That if this goes through, a whole lot of people are going to be flying 250-gram quads. And by that, I mean a whole lot of people are going to keep a 250-gram quad in their backpack and then fly a 5-inch. And if anybody asks, it was the 250-gram quad that was flying. I'm not recommending that you do that. I'm just saying some people are going to do that. Yeah, I do think, Wild Ape, I do think if you look at other countries with draconian regulation, like Canada, for example, when that regulation goes through, the micro scene really picks up. So, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. No, we're not going there. 507RC says, please read page 73 of the NPRM and see if you're convinced sub 250 gram won't be regulated very soon. Well, okay. We're going to download this. Page 73 of the NPRM. 73. 319 pages, guys. Thank you to the FPV Freedom Coalition. I reached out to Dave Messina and said, hey, Dave, do you want to do an interview about this? And he said, I just got home from vacation for the holidays, and I have to read through this and figure out what it says. And Dave Messina read 320 pages of this nonsense and distilled it down into a 6-page document that you can read and don't have to read the whole thing. So thank you, FPV Freedom Coalition, for that. Let's see here. The FPV acknowledges the dissenting opinion within the ARC regarding using weight as the sole determinant of whether an unmanned aircraft should be required to have remote ID. While an exclusion to any remote ID requirement based on weight could make sense, the same cannot be said from the perspective of the overall safety of the airspace of the United States. In other words, from the perspective of the overall safety of the airspace of the United States, it may not make sense to use weight as the means to determine whether an aircraft should be required to have remote ID. Ouch. Thank you for that, 507RC. Okay. Sorry for slurping on the stream, guys. Great Golden Spoon says, how long do you think superglued motor magnets will stay in? I don't know, man. Not very long. Superglue is not very flexible. It's brittle and it shatters easily. And I would expect, I mean, if you like need to get in the air today, superglue it, but I don't think it's going to hold very long, man. I'm sure somewhere out there's a person who's like, I superglued my magnet 6 months ago and it's fine. Okay, good for you. But I don't see that as Sam D12 in the Discord wants to know my Sovol TPU settings. Sam D, I got to tell you, I mean, I've tried various TPU profiles. I've gotten pretty good results with in Cura. So I use Cura as my slicer. Use the standard quality 0.2 millimeter and use TPU as your material. And then set the temperature based on your filament. You may need to tweak the temperature. I use I think 210 degrees, which is sort of a midline temperature for TPU. Set the speed to 25 millimeters per second, and set the retraction to 6 millimeters of retraction. And to me, those 3 settings gave me pretty decent results with TPU. I don't claim to be an expert, but you asked what my settings were, and that's what they were. Let's see here. How's that irreninter working for you, Josh? I don't know what that means. What's an irreninter? I think you misspelled a word. Printer. The 3D printer. Oh, yeah, it's working good. Alrighty. Guys, it's 10 minutes to the hour. I'm going to be going off the air in about 10 minutes, and Ciati FPV is going to be starting his live stream. Ciati, let us know what's going on your stream this week. Oh, I see Random KS. Random KS is my friend here in Knoxville. Nice to see you there, Jeff. The Beard and Hammer. AMA sent a few messages to their members concerning the comment period. There will be 7 more once open, I imagine. The Beard and Hammer, here is what I need to see from the AMA. AMA, are you out there? You're not watching my whole 2-hour live stream, so. AMA, I want to see you give a crap about anything other than your stupid frickin' flight fields. Somebody needs to stick up for the fact that we don't all fly at flight fields. It is okay to fly at a park under the right circumstances. Now, I don't know what those circumstances are, but AMA seems to always fall back to, our flight fields will be fine, and that's what they tell their members. That's not even true anymore under this proposed rule. But I want to see AMA stick their nose out for, I don't even care if it's BVLOS. I don't want to fly over the horizon. I just want to be able to put my goggles on and fly in a freaking park without a spotter. Who is going to stick up for that? That's what I want. AMA, is that you? Because the days when I said the AMA is better than nothing, they're doing what they can. This is it. This is the moment of truth. AMA, it's no longer okay for you to just be the best choice. You got to either put up or shut up. That's what I say. I don't think they're going to do it. I've seen no indication that they have the capability or the will to do it. But here's the thing. If the AMA said, we are fighting for the ability to fly under 200 feet without restriction, or for the ability to fly with goggles on, as long as you're, I don't know, whatever. But all they say is, don't worry, old guys with planes. Sorry, old guys with planes. It's not you. The AMA is like, don't worry, old guys with planes who like to fly ovals at traditional fields. You'll be fine. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's who you're fighting for, that's not me. And I need to hear that the AMA is going to actually fight for me. And I haven't heard that yet. And now it's the time. So that's why we're donating $236 is what we're up to the FPV Freedom Coalition. Old guys with planes, really, I got nothing against you. I've flown fixed wing. It's fun. I'm an FPV guy, but you're not the problem. $236 in revenue to be donated to the FPV Freedom Coalition. If there are any last-minute super chats, get them in. I'll do my best to answer them before Ciati takes over at 3 p.m. Just got a Runcam Split 3 Nano, says Budget FPV. Do you need a regulator if I'm using it on a 2S toothpick build? Runcam Split 3 Nano. What's the deal with that? I think the Split 3 Nano takes VBAT, but let's double check. Always just double check those specs. Oh, look, it's my video. Thank you, Runcam. That's always nice to see. Wide voltage 5 to 20 volts. On 2S, you should be super fine, dude. I think you're fine. Yeah. You should be good. No, couldn't you take 2 800 milliwatt VTXs on one drone, feed it with the same video signal? No, it doesn't work like that, Schmutz Timo. They would just interfere with each other. Derek Witten asks, is the DJI Air unit good for a noob, or should I just pick up the Fat Shark Attitude V5 or the Skyzone Skyo 2? Derek, if you have the money, the DJI system is very compelling, especially now that they have basically fixed the latency issues with the AV input. Because with the latency issues fixed, you could use a ground station to fly analog micros, and you could fly any other quads you have with the DJI system in it, and it looks really freaking good. The thing is, if you're thinking about the Skyo 2 or the Fat Shark Attitude V5, I suspect that the DJI system is out of your price range. In which case, Attitude V5 or Skyzone Skyo 2 is a good one. Sander wants to know what to do about these oscillations. Let's see if we can look at Sander's. This is a PID toolbox graph. It's showing us vibrations and noise relative to throttle position. That's fascinating, Sander. Look, I see immediately what you're talking about there, dude. So this is normal. This is the motor RPM going up as the throttle as the throttle goes up. Completely normal. And this diagonal here is also completely normal. That's just the motors. But we got this little hump right here, don't we? And I think that's what you're asking about. And it's right around 35 to 40% throttle. Fascinating. What's the frequency? It's very low frequency, too. That is really interesting. So anything that low frequency, it's got to be something loose on the quad that happens to vibrate and resonate right at that motor RPM. It can't be the motors, or even like a frame resonance, I don't think would be that low. A frame resonance, we probably would see a horizontal line around 70 to 100 hertz. Something this low frequency, though, it's got to be something like tapping or bonking the flight controller. That's my guess. Anyway. HBF PV, thank you for 20 kroner. Just did the mod, the L1 and L10 mod. Oh, right here during the live stream. Good, good, good. Thank you for $5. B Commando 85. Thank you for $10. Snowman is the man. And Want to Get Fly, thanks for $5. Guys, we are coming to the end of the stream. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you so much for donating to the FPV Freedom Coalition, who will hopefully help us fight this remote ID thing. I will be streaming again at 8 p.m. tomorrow. Do streams almost every, although I did take last week off for Christmas. Sorry if you didn't get the notice. 1 p.m. on Sunday, 8 p.m. on Monday, right here on the channel. Look for more good content coming up this week on the channel. What did I used to do? Technophobe. I was a Wi-Fi engineer. Pappy says we need to start buying up old golf courses like Flight Test. The problem is, Pappy, that they're not that wouldn't let us fly legally. So, Pappy, the existing AMA fields will be acknowledged as whatever they're calling them, the FAA flight fields. But then, since there cannot be any new ones after 12 months from the day it goes into effect, eventually those will all get phased out, and that'll be the end of it. All right, guys. Siati, go ahead and post the link to your live stream. If you guys cannot get enough for streaming, Siati is going to be streaming. He's going to post the link here in the chat, and I am going to get out of here and do some more other things. David Skinner, it's Siati FPV. He's going to post the link right here. Ciotti is his name. Here he is. Here we go. Siati, go ahead and post that link, my friend. And I will see you guys as soon as Siati posts that link. I'll get out of here, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. There it is. There's Siati's link. All right, guys. I'm out of here. Y'all have there's my Southern coming out. Y'all have a good afternoon. Happy flying, everybody. Have a great stream, Siati.